All right, the Detroit Lions may have actually changed the course of NFL and changed the future of the NFL based on what just happened, which is now history. I'm saying a bunch of weird words. If you're new to this channel, my name's Craig. We are Sports Talk Detroit. Me and my buddy Chris, we've been doing this for over 4 years now. Love talking Lions football with all of you. And I want to talk a little bit of it right now. So leave a comment. The game against the Vikings. I got 2 questions for you. Number one, what is the biggest Lions victory you have ever seen? Like, what is the greatest victory the Lions have ever gotten? And I put this right up there. I absolutely do. Some that I think this game against the Vikings, honestly, is probably number 2, which is nuts to think about. I think the biggest win in Lions team history was last year against the Rams. It's just all the things that were happening. First round of the playoffs, home playoff game, get a victory. The win over the Bucs was big too, but it doesn't seem as big. It felt like that was just icing on the cake, and then I also, the other things that can be in there as most important, 91, right? Beating the Cowboys, getting to the NFC Championship. I think that's huge, but I would actually put this Vikings one in there because it essentially was a playoff win. Because you skip the first round, you get the first round bye because of it. And so it essentially was a first-round playoff game against a division rival, and you were the 2 best teams in the NFC going into that game. So they're not knocked out of the playoffs, but we kept ourselves in. Now, this game has created quite a stir. I think a lot of people didn't think it was fair going into the game, and even after the game, they didn't think it was fair that a team would lose, go 14-3, and then get the 5 seed. Now, just to be clear, the Lions or Vikings, I don't know about the Vikings, but I know the Lions would have had the tiebreaker over the Eagles, and I think the Vikings may have, but don't quote me on that. But they certainly would have been ahead of the 10-7 Rams and the 10-7 Buccaneers. Also, a couple things to consider in this. If it is for home field, all right, well, first let me tell you what the rule change they're considering making is. All right, here it is. All right, this is Bleacher Report Gridiron, but a lot of other people are saying this. The NFL is going to look into changing the playoff format this offseason per NFL on CBS, with the top 4 teams and win percentage get a home game instead of division winners. So let's talk about what this looks like. So instead of your 4 division winners, right, the East, the North, the West, the South, both AFC and NFC, it has been that the top 4 get a home playoff game. So essentially, the way I've always viewed this is, so let's talk about the Minnesota Vikings for a while. It's weird to talk nice about the Vikings. But, so they're 14-3. So you're going to penalize them to the 5 seed. You're going to penalize them to the 5 seed because they had the second best record in the NFC while playing in the best division. They lost 1 game that wasn't to the Detroit Lions. 1. That's it. I'll say it was like the Bucs or something. I don't remember who it was, right? But maybe the Falcons or something weird, all right? They lost 1 game. What if that was us? Like, are we feeling good about flying to, well, not L.A., now it would be Glendale, Arizona, because that game got moved. Would you be feeling good about flying to L.A.? Here's another playoff kind of trickle effect that happened off of that. The Rams decided they weren't going to play their starters. They just didn't play their starters. They didn't care if they lost or not because they didn't care if they were the 3 seed or the 4 seed. They just wanted a home playoff game. Well, guess what? The Rams, if it was seeded like this, would be wanting to play their starters so they would get a home game. Because in this scenario, if the Vikings had lost, which they did, or the Lions, it would have gone, even if the way it shook out now, it would have gone Lions, Eagles, Vikings as your top 3 seeds, and then it would go Bucs because the Bucs had the tiebreak over the Rams. So the Rams and Buccaneers would be playing games not only to make it into the playoffs because they win their division, but also because they were playing for home field. Now, this rule doesn't change the fact that division winners still get into the NFL playoffs. They should. If you win your division, even if I remember the year, I think the Seattle Seahawks make it at like 7-9. It was like Russell Westbrook's rookie year, his second year, or something like that. They were 7-9. They were not a good football team. They made the playoffs because they were a division winner. They won the West at 7-9. Great. That's fine. Somebody from the NFC South has to make the playoffs at some point, right? And we got to find a way for them to make it in. All right, I really do think the Falcons are going to be a better team going forward, and the Bucs. So that actually could turn into a pretty good division because it's always moving, always changing. So yes, let every division winner get in there, but you don't reward a 10-7 team a home football game when you have multiple teams with better records. It's just not fair. It doesn't make sense. In fact, I'm pretty sure all 3 wildcard teams had better records than the Rams and the Bucs, right? So maybe the Rams wouldn't have even been playing for the 4 seed. They would have been playing just to be the 6 seed or the 7 seed. So I could have been wrong on that entirely. So I thought that was kind of crazy. Now, if you're feeling like a lot of people like the Lions, you are correct. This is kind of a fun story that I wanted to talk about, but also let me ask you the question. Would you be in favor of you make the playoffs and then based on your record solely is how you get seeded? I'm all for it. I mean, like, I'm not even a little bit for it. I am all in on this. I think that game should have decided who gets first and who gets second. And by the way, still would have been huge. Still would have been huge because it would have determined who gets a first-round bye. Because the Vikings still would be playing this week. The only difference is that they would be playing a home game, which they deserved. And if we had lost that game, we would deserve it too. That's all I'm saying. I think college football needs to reconsider this as well. A bye for all the teams that win their conference, the top 4 conference winners. Oh, and by the way, your reward is you don't get a home game? Like, you only go to a bowl game? Like, there has to be things that you have to constantly be thinking, how can we make this better? And you want, all right, the NFL, it's great. There's 14 teams that make the playoffs. I think you could go to 16. I do. All right? I liked it with 12, to be completely honest, because I think 2 teams getting a bye is great. And then you have the wild card weekend. Phenomenal. I love that. I really did. I understand wanting to get more teams in, more revenue, a couple extra games. I totally get it. Maybe go to 8, right? And you can do a different number of things. But anyways, with all that being said, college football, same. I love that they're bringing 12 teams. I think it's fantastic. But what I don't like is the way they did it. So it's okay to sometimes think to yourselves like, okay, there's probably a better way. And that's what the NFL is doing in this. So I said I had a fun story that I was watching. This is on this is from The Score, and I thought it was really, really interesting. And I'll show you the map after this. But they did a map based on over 250,000 tweets gathered in last week, shows that the Lions are the most popular team to root for in 19 states. So people said, who are you rooting for? And based on where they lived and what state they were, every team came up with like each state had their own. Because obviously not every state's represented by an NFL team, and certainly not by NFL teams that are in the playoffs. Here's the full results. America wants the Lions, all right? 19 states are saying they want the Detroit Lions to, and that's who they are rooting for to win the Super Bowl. All right, that's who they're rooting for to win the Super Bowl. If you want to see the map itself, here you go. All right, obviously you have Michigan, but then you have Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, right? The Carolinas, Georgia, Bama. Like, this is great. Mississippi, over here. Like, I just, the whole Pacific Northwest for some reason likes the Lions, Alaska even, right? And then the Far East. It's very interesting to see this. Okay, so this is kind of cool. It just shows that what the Lions have done, it's not just, look, I get it. I love our uniforms. I love the Honolulu blue. I always have. I think we have a great logo. I think we've always been kind of the Chicago Cubs of the NFL. We are the lovable losers, right? And now that our team is getting good, the way we play, the fire, the energy in which we play with, the creativity in which we play with, like, the NFL fan is dying for it. Like, they love it, right? They love it. And I think it's just interesting to watch this kind of come full circle from this team that's just forgotten about to, man, people love this team. They love this team. And I understand why they would love this team. I was talking to Chris, the other person who does this channel. Our families had lunch together today. And he was saying, hey, yesterday he was watching the Texans-Chargers game, which, pretty good teams, right? And if you're a Texans fan, you're fired up right now, and you should be, right? But he's like generic, bland offenses, right? That, if they face a good defense, there's nothing they can do. And we kind of felt that the Steelers as well have that. The Lions have an offense that is so intuitive, that is so ingenuitive, like if that's even, a word, ingenuitive. Anyways, it's just a lot of fun. They're a fun team to watch. They're the best offense in the NFL. And I would make the argument that they're not the most talented offense in the NFL. I think there's offenses that have the talent that we have, but it's just so much fun to watch us work together as one. And then a defense that's playing so well. Like, why wouldn't you fall on board with this team? So, yeah, look at that. 19 states in America, the team that they want to win it all is not playing this weekend because we got the bye. But I do think it is only right, and I hope somebody brings that to the rules committee, and I hope they take a real look at, like, are we doing the right thing, right? Like, are we doing the right thing in the way we seed our playoffs? I don't think we are. I have no problem, like I said, rewarding division winners. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic, right? If you win your division, you absolutely should make the playoffs. But you should not be punished because the best team in your conference plays in your division, right? I can see this in other areas in the way this goes too, right? You've got over on the AFC West, you have the Chiefs, which are forever good, but the Chargers are on their way up. Like, they are on their way up. So you're telling me the Chargers, if they're not better than the Chiefs, are just stuck with the 5 seed for the rest of the time? Like, that doesn't seem like an accurate depiction of things, right? What about the Broncos? Like, that division is phenomenal. Like, they're going to be really good for years. There are 3 very good head coaches, 3 good quarterbacks leading those teams. So you're just telling me 2 of them never get a home game? That doesn't seem accurate. So anyways, even though they're better than the teams that do. Even though they are better than the teams that do. All right, hey, thank you everybody for watching. This has been fun. Oh man, I can't wait for the Lions to play next weekend. But this weekend, just enjoy relaxing, knowing that we don't have the stress of hoping the Lions make it to the divisional round because they're already there. See ya.